Let me ask you something real quick. Name me one rapper, just one, who has been shot at, locked up, blackballed by the entire music industry, put on house arrest, dragged through the courts, and still became the most certified rapper of all time. I'll wait. You can't, because there's only one. Kentrell DeSean Gaulden, NBA YoungBoy. Lil Top, the man from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who was never supposed to make it, and made it anyway. And I'm about to show you something that most people completely miss. Something that's been sitting right in front of us this entire time. The reason why YoungBoy is unstoppable isn't just hard work. It isn't just talent. It isn't just the streets. Kentrell was born October 20th, 1999. That makes him a Libra. And once I break down what that actually means, you will never look at him the same way again. Before we talk about stars and zodiac signs and all of that, we have to understand where this man came from. Because if you don't know the foundation, you can't understand the height. Kentrell Gaulden grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, one of the most violent, poverty-stricken cities in America. His father was sentenced to 55 years in prison when Kentrell was just 8 years old. No dad in the picture. Raised by his grandmother. At 4 years old, he broke his neck in a wrestling accident. The scars are still on his forehead to this day. A permanent reminder of how early life started swinging on him. By the time he was 13, he was in a group home after his grandmother passed. Getting beaten up, no stability. Nor safety net, nothing. And it was then a juvenile detention centre at Ag 13 that Kentrell started writing lyrics. Not because he had a music deal. Not because someone believed in him. But because writing was the only thing that made sense in a world that made no sense at all. He dropped his first mixtape the day he got out of juvie in 2014. He was 14 years old. Between 2015 and 2017, he dropped mixtape after mixtape completely independent, no label, no co-sign, no budget, just raw hunger and a voice that hit different from anything else on the internet at the time. 38 Baby, Mind of a Menace and Before I Go, each one building a cult following that the mainstream couldn't understand yet, but the streets understood. The kids understood. The ones who grew up without fathers, without safety, without someone telling them they were enough, they understood every single word. Then came Win or Lose. The video shot while he was behind bars goes viral. The whole world suddenly had to stop and pay attention. Who is this kid? Where did he come from? And why does every single line feel like it was written from a place no other rapper would dare to go? The answer is simple. Because it was real. Every bar real. Every emotion real. That authenticity is not something you can manufacture. It's not something you can buy. It's something you're either born with or you're not. And Kentrell, he was born with it. October 20th, 1999, a Libra, and that matters more than most people realize. Now, before you skip past this part, hear me out. Whether you're into astrology or not, Libra describes a very specific type of person, a very specific type of energy. And when you line it up against what YoungBoy has actually done and who he actually is, the overlap is almost too real to ignore. Libra runs from September 23rd to October 22nd. YoungBoy was born October 20th, 2 days before the season ends. That means his Libra energy is concentrated, deep, intense, fully baked. Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty, art, love, and raw emotional expression. This is not the sign of cold logic. This is not the sign of calculation or corporate moves. Libra is the sign of the artist, the sign of someone who feels everything on a level so deep that the only way to process it is to create. The symbol of Libra is the scales, balance. But here's what most people get wrong. Libra doesn't represent someone who is balanced. It represents someone who is searching for balance. Constantly. Someone who has experienced both extremes, the pain and the peace, the streets and the success. The chaos and the calm, and is always trying to find the middle ground. Sound like anyone you know. YoungBoy has publicly said he wants peace. He moved to Utah away from the industry, away from Baton Rouge to find stillness. He talks about wanting to be present for his kids, wanting to leave the street life behind, wanting harmony. That is textbook Libra. The scales are always moving, always seeking equilibrium in a world that keeps trying to tip them over. And then there's Venus, the planet of art. If there is any rapper alive right now who embodies Venus energy, pure, unfiltered, emotionally devastating artistry, it is YoungBoy. The man releases music the way other people breathe. Not because a label tells him to. Not because it's good business strategy. But because he genuinely cannot stop. He's called it a disease in his own words. A compulsion to create that he doesn't fully understand himself. That's not hustle, that's Venus energy. That's a soul that was built to make art. Let me give you the 5 Libra traits that explain exactly why YoungBoy is the greatest rapper of this generation. And I want you to watch how perfectly they line up. Libras are ruled by Venus, and Venus is the planet of pure art, not commercial art, not calculated art, raw, emotional, soul-level art. And YoungBoy's catalogue is the most vivid proof of this in hip-hop right now. Think about the range. One song he's threatening ops with the coldest delivery you've ever heard. Next song he's crying about his mother. Next song he's talking to God. Next song he's riding for the streets. He doesn't stay in one lane because Venus doesn't stay in one lane. Love, beauty, pain, joy, anger, grief, Libra feels all of it and puts all of it into the work. As of January 2026, YoungBoy is officially the most RIAA certified rapper in history. 126 certified titles. He passed Jay-Z. He passed Kanye. He passed Drake. At 26 years old, that is not a coincidence. That is a Venus-ruled artist who was physically incapable of not making great music. Here's the thing about Libra scales that nobody talks about. The scales don't stay perfectly still. They swing hard, and the test of a Libra isn't whether life knocks them off balance. Life always knocks them off balance. The test is whether they can right themselves again. YoungBoy's entire career is a story of the scales swinging and him fighting to balance them out. Locked Up in 2016 drops music from prison and goes viral. Locked Up Again drops Sincerely Kentrell from prison and it debuted #1 on the Billboard 200. He became only the 3rd artist in history alongside Tupac and Lil Wayne to have a #1 album while incarcerated, 3rd in all of history. Industry blackballs him. Labels won't work with him. Radio won't play him. Award shows ignore him. The scales tip. And what does he do? He goes independent, builds his own lane, and becomes the most streamed rapper in the country without traditional industry support. When the scale tips left, he builds his own scale. 2025, his massive Make America Slime, again arena tour becomes one of the highest grossing hip-hop tours in US history. Over 500,000 tickets sold, $70 million gross, 42 shows. The man the industry tried to bury was selling out arenas across America. The scales balanced. This is the one that separates YoungBoy from every rapper in his generation. Raw, unguarded emotional honesty. And this is pure Libra. Libra, through Venus, has a gift for emotional resonance, the ability to make other people feel exactly what you feel through art. YoungBoy doesn't rap at people. He doesn't perform emotions. He bleeds on the track and lets you feel the wound. That's why his fan base isn't just fans. They're a community, a movement. People who feel like he is literally rapping their life. Kids who grew up without fathers. Young men who had to be tough before they were ready. People who have been written off, locked up, doubted. Abandoned, they hear YoungBoy and they feel seen in a way no other artist makes them feel. Complex named him Best Rapper Alive for 2025. Rolling Stone put his single Shot Callin' as the 3rd best hip-hop song of the year. The mainstream is finally catching up to what his core fans have known since 2016. The emotional depth of this man's music is generational. It is not going away. Libras are naturally magnetic. It's a Venus thing again, people are drawn to them without always knowing why. And YoungBoy has this in a very specific, street-level way. He's not charming in a polished, Hollywood way. He's charming in a real way. He walks through the mall. He gives back to his community. He made tens of thousands of dollars in donations to anti-violence organizations across Atlanta and Dallas on his tour. He gives out food to homeless people in his neighborhood with his mother. He hasn't forgotten where he came from. And his fans can feel that. The connection is genuine. That's Libra charm, not fake, not performed, authentic. Now, just like we did with Trump, we keep it real. Libra has a shadow side, and YB shows that too. Libras can struggle with decision-making, with impulsiveness, with letting the pendulum swing too far before catching themselves. YoungBoy has had run-ins with the law throughout his career. Legal problems that have followed him since his teenage years. He once tweeted that he forgot to release an album on its scheduled date. That's Libra, energy to so deep in the creative flow that the business side slips. Libras can be perceived as unpredictable because their internal balance is constantly shifting. People who don't understand YoungBoy often say he's hard to read. Hot and cold, intense one moment withdrawn the next. That's not instability. That's the Libra scales doing what they do, processing a world that has never made it easy for this man to just exist. But here's the thing about the shadow side of Libra. It doesn't cancel the gift, it fuels it. Every struggle he's been through has gone straight into the music. The chaos has always become art. Let me just give you the facts. Because at some point you have to stop debating and just look at the numbers. 126 are RIAA certified titles, the most in rap history. He passed legends who have been making music for decades, at age 26. Let that land. His YouTube channel was pulling nearly 48 million weekly views in early 2026. Almost. Double what Drake and Bad Bunny were doing at the same time. On the internet, the place where the streets live, where the culture actually lives, YoungBoy is #1. And has been for years. His Make America Slime, again arena tour, 500,000 tickets. $70 million. One of the highest grossing hip-hop tours in United States history. A man who couldn't get a Grammy nomination was selling out, arenas coast to coast, and making more money than half the artists the industry was pushing. His album Sincerely, Kentrell #1 on the Billboard 200. While he was in prison, he made history from behind bars. Again, Complex named him Best Rapper Alive for 2025. Rolling Stone called Shot Call in the Statement Song of 2025. The mainstream is finally saying what the streets already knew. And in January 2026, he dropped Slime Cry. A 30-track album featuring Burna Boy and Jelly Roll, and went right back to work, because a Libra ruled by Venus never stops creating. It is physically impossible. Tell me who else has done this. Tell me wie Wells at T26 from Baton Rouge, without full support, while fighting cases, while raising 12 kids, while being written off by critics, has built a legacy this massive. I'll wait again. So here's the bottom line. NBA YoungBoy is the greatest rapper of this generation because he is real in a world full of performance. Because he bleeds on tracks that other rappers would never dare make. Because he kept going when the industry, the courts, and the circumstances all lined up against him. But underneath all of that, there is a Venus-ruled, scales carrying. October 20th Libra, who was built from birth to feel everything deeper than everyone else, and to turn that feeling into the most honest, the most raw, the most human music this generation has ever heard. Libra doesn't dominate through force. Libra dominates through art, through connection, through the kind of beauty that makes. You feel less alone at 3 in the morning when the world doesn't make sense. That is NBA YoungBoy. That is Lil Top. That is Kentrell Gaulden. Born October 20th, 1999. Born a Libra. Born for this. If you want the same breakdown on other rappers and their Zodiac signs, drop it in the comments. And if you're a Libra watching this right now, you already knew. You felt every word.